In this video, we're going to continue on where we left off in our section 9.2, which is dealing with rational exponents. So we took from a problem that had a rational exponent, we rewrote it as a root or a radical. Now we're going to take something that's already written as a radical and we're going to rewrite it using a rational exponent. Okay? So this is the fourth root of 30, which will become 30 to the 1/4 power. Okay. Similarly, if I have x over y to the fourth, and I'm taking the 9th root of that, well, that becomes x over y to the fourth to the 1/9 power. Now, I could technically simplify this, and it would become x to the 1/9 over y to the 4/9, because remember, when you raise a power to a power, you multiply those exponents. Okay. So 3 to the 7th, and then I'm taking the 4th root of that, that becomes 3 to the 7/4 exponent, okay? Or in this case, when I have 20x squared y, and I'm taking the cube root of that and then raising it to the 4th power, I'm really taking 20x squared y to the 4/3 power. Remember that the radical, whatever root we're taking, that's always the denominator of our fraction. Okay? So, here again, when we are dealing with negative exponents, just like we've dealt with negative exponents before, if you have something that is dealing with a negative rational exponent, then it sends it to the denominator of our problem, just like we have had before. So remember that same process, only instead of with whole numbers before, we're now dealing with rational or fractional exponents. Okay, so 49 to the negative 1/2 power, that becomes 1 over 49 to the 1/2 power, which becomes 1 over the square root of 49. And what is the square root of 49? Well, that's 7. Okay? Similarly, if I have here 27a to the 3rd, and I'm raising that to the negative 2/3 power, that becomes 1 over the cube root of 27a to the 3rd, and then I'm going to square that. So that becomes the cube root of 27a to the 3rd, well, that becomes 3a, and then I'm going to square it. So then what I have is 1 over 3 squared is 9, and a squared is a squared. Remember that if it's already in the denominator, a negative exponent will bring it back to the numerator, so this just becomes 8 to the 2/3 power, which is, of course, cube root of 8, and then we're going to square it. What is the cube root of 8? That is 2. And 2 squared is 4. And okay, this last one's got a lot of little parts to it, so let's take a look. This is really negative 1 times this whole part here, 4x squared y to the 6th to the negative 5/2. That's going to go to the denominator. The negative 1 is going to stay in the numerator. Okay, so 4x squared y to the 6th, and then I have that to the 5/2 power. So the negative 1, and then I'm going to take the square root of this 4x squared. Sorry, my 4s have a hard time with this. So I have a 4 and then an x squared y to the 6th, and then that whole thing will get raised to the 5th power. Okay, so then that gives us negative 1, and this becomes a 2x and a y to the 3rd, and then I'm going to raise that whole thing to the 5th power. So this gives me a negative 1 over 2 to the 5th, that's 32, and an x to the 5th, and then remember, when I raise a power to a power, I multiply, so that's y to the 15th. So that's our continuation of working with those rational exponents. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you in the next video.